Hello, welcome. I hope that you've had a good week and you're having a good start to your weekend. Even in places like here where it's going to be quite cold, windy, and we're going to continue doing our sight reading challenges. We've got three of them that we have access to right now, and we're going to see if we can't get caught up. So, yeah, let's go ahead and get started.
All right, welcome back everyone. Today, we're gonna talk about some other kinds of variations you might see in drum grooves, and that's adding different accents, specifically crash cymbal accents, to highlight what the band is doing. So we've done a little bit of this before, but we're gonna go a little bit further into it and even add some drum fills between these accents a little later on. Very common thing you'll see. Before we get there though, let's review the challenge from the previous video. So this is our rock shuffle. Grab your sticks, let's see how you did. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Nice work. So kind of a different shuffle there, right? So we're only accenting the snare every 2 bars. And then you may have noticed we're no longer in a 12-bar blues form, right? So this is a 16-bar phrase. And you'll hear, you don't always have to hear shuffles in 12-bar blues. So we're keeping you on your toes. Hopefully you're able to hang with that. Hopefully you're feeling a little more comfortable playing shuffles at this point. So today we're going to talk about accents and adding crash cymbal accents within a groove to further kind of emphasize what the band is doing. This is very common. You're going to see this in a whole lot of songs. So we're going to get some practice on it today. We've already done a little bit of this, but we're going to go even a little bit further. And later on, we're even going to add some drum fills in between these. So right now, we're going to try and sight read a little bit. We're going to start with the pattern, and then slowly we're going to add more and more crash cymbals to kind of highlight what's going on in the track. So grab your sticks. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, and... Very fun track to play along to.
Okay, the metronome is not lined up with the guy in this track. So I'm going to have to restart this part without the metronome because it's actually making it worse.
One, 2, 3, and... Very fun track to play along to. cymbal every 4 bars. Let's add our first one. Here we go. 3, and... Not too bad, right? Add another. Here we go. All right, look ahead. We're gonna add another this time. Here we go. 2, 3. There you go. Do that again. All right, we're gonna add another. Look ahead. Here we go. All right. One more time. 2, 3, and... Let's add one more. Look ahead. Where's it gonna be? Here we go. Woo. Do that again. One more time. One more time. Here we go. 2, 3, 4. And we'll end on 1. Here we go. 2. Ready? And... All right. Lots of crashes in there, right? But that's very common, right? We're just the crash for that note. And I was kind of moving around a little bit, but the more you do that, the more you'll start to anticipate those crashes that kind of deviate from the groove, right? It's a little bit hard to hear in that track, but in a lot of songs, it's very, very obvious where those booms are, right, with the rest of the band. All right, so that's adding crash cymbals to grooves. Hope you enjoyed this. Let's put these skills to the test a little bit with a challenge to wrap up today's video. So grab your sticks, try this on your own. Good luck. I'll see you in the next video. We'll see how you did. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, and...
There were parts of that that I definitely had trouble with, especially towards the end there. I kind of lost my place because I was having trouble uh, keeping track of the background music over his drumming, but his for some reason his drumming wasn't even helping me keep time for some reason. So at some point, like there was a volume thing where I couldn't keep track of it and I couldn't hold my own time. So it's not blaming the track. The track just introduced a challenge that I didn't do well with that challenge being lower volume on what I was referencing and not holding my own time when the volume went down. So that's something that I should definitely work on, and that's something I can work on. I have a tool available to me to help me with that. And this is a tool that any drummer should have, I think. An app on your phone or whatever that can mute a certain number of measures every once in a while. So, for example, say, give me 4 measures with the beep going, and then give me 2 measures with no beep, and then kick back in, and see if you keep on track, keep on tempo through those 2 bars that don't have the beep. And that's something that I do occasionally. I guess I need. Yeah, I'm going to start doing that. But that's day 13. Let's go on to day 14. That was almost tragic.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Today we are going to keep talking about adding accents to our grooves. We're talking about adding crash cymbal accents, and we're even going to add some drum fills in between those accents today. It's a very common thing you hear in a lot of songs, and it's a very fun thing to play. But before we get there, let's review the challenge from the previous video. So grab your sticks. Let's see how you did. Up, 2, 3. Very nice work. So nothing too crazy going on here, right? We're just kind of switching between more of a normal hi-hat verse section, you could call it, and a louder, we'll call it a chorus section, where we're adding some crash cymbal accents, right? So one thing that always helped me anytime, especially in these 8th note based grooves where we're adding a lot of crashes, just remember 1 and 2 and 3 and 4.
So if you want a simple song that has a lot of these upbeat and unusually placed crash hits, but isn't too difficult, "Hail to the King" by Avenged Sevenfold. It's got a lot of them mixed in all over the place, but they're all on the 8th note beat. There's no crazy rhythmic weirdness, and it's fairly easy to keep track with. So Maybe I'll play that later after this because that seems appropriate. Yeah, you know what? We'll play that song after we're done with our sight reading stuff.
And your lead hand, I always like to think of it as kind of the boss of everything else. So even though we're adding in all of these crash cymbals, you still want to feel 1 and 2 and 3. This is kind of our anchor, our timekeeper, right? And the more you do it, the more you start to learn these rhythms, the more you learn to scan ahead and not be surprised by them. I'm going to say that over and over and over. The more they will get comfortable, right? So let's take this a little bit further. Let's try a new loop. We're going to learn some new crash cymbal accents, and we're going to try and put some drum fills in between. So I want to play the loop a couple times. I'm going to let you hear where those shots are or where those accents are. And then I'm going to start to put some fills in between. So you got to stay on your toes. Yeah, and I just want you to feel how it feels to go from accent to fill, back to groove. Let's give it a try. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. All right, so these are going to be our accents. 1 and 3 and. Try that again. Here we go. 1 and 3 and. We'll do that every 4 bars, but we're going to try and add some drum fills in between. 1 and 3 and. All right, here's our first fill. Take a look. Here we go. Try that one again. Here we go. All right, let's change it up a little bit. Here we go. We'll try a few different ones. Here we go. All right, last one. Here we go. All right, there you go. So in this specific example, we only have one beat in between those shots that we can really add a drum fill to, right? So there's really not that many options of what we could play, right? The more you do this, the more you play different patterns when it comes to crash cymbal accents and go between a groove to an accent to a fill and back. You'll get more comfortable with this in the same way that we were talking about before. The more you play drum fills like at the end of phrases that start on beat 4 or beat 3 or beat 2 or beat 1, you start to develop this kind of repertoire of go-to drum fills, you could say. So the more you play these kinds of accents with fills in between, the more you'll start to learn what works, what doesn't work, what's too much, when it should be nice and sparse, that kind of thing. So let's try this one more time. We're going to try a new loop. We're going to add some shots in, and then we'll add some drum fills as well. So grab your sticks. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. quarter note, we could either play a quarter note fill, kind of like we were going 1, 2 E and a 3, 4 E and a, or we can even fill it up a little bit more when we were going 1 and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E and a. Something like that, right? So you'll start to learn these different combinations of fills that work really well with different accent patterns. So that's going to wrap up our video for today. Let's end with a challenge. We're going to use a track that we've used before. Good luck. There's going to be some fills in between some crash cymbal accents. Join me in the next video as always, and you can see how you did. I'll see you there. 1, 2, 3, and...
I didn't do too bad there. I missed the fill at the end, but other than that, so yeah, the more I play these sets of lessons, and the more I start to understand the style of grooves and type of fills they like to use here, it is getting a bit easier to read them, and I'm getting a little bit better at judging how far ahead I need to be looking. I'm still working on that aspect, but I think I'm making progress. Come on.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Today we are going to continue our practice adding accents. Today we are going to continue our practice adding accents into our grooves and even adding some drum fills in between those. But before we get there, let's review the challenge from the previous video. Grab your sticks. Let's see how you did. 1, 2, 3, 4. right, there you go. So that's some great practice adding crash cymbal accents into a groove and then even adding some drum fills in between those. And you might have noticed as we progress through that track, we kind of bumped up the intensity a little bit each phrase, right? This is very common. I'm sure you've heard songs where drummers do this before. It's a great way just to kind of build energy and keep a forward momentum going throughout an entire track. So it's something you'll see a whole lot in popular music. So that being said, let's get a little bit more practice. We're just going to continue sight reading as we have done throughout this course. We're going to try a new track. We're going to bring in some shots, and then we're going to even bring in some drum fills. So grab your sticks. Try this with me. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, and... There you go. So in that one, those crash cymbal accents fall on beats 3 and 4 at the end of a phrase, right? So we only really have kind of like half a beat in between those that we can add a drum fill. So that's really going to inform what our options are, right? All right, so let's wrap up today's video. We're going to try another challenge. This is going to give you some more practice adding drum fills in between shots, kind of varying up your groove. We're going to keep you on your toes. So good luck. Join me in the next video. We'll see how you did. See you then. Ready? 1, 2, 3, and...
You know, I'm not very happy with how I'm doing here, so I'm going to start over and try again. Because when you start making mistakes, when you're practicing, that's what you do. You start over and try to get it right.
One, two, three, and...
I messed up the second to last fill because I did a repeat of the one before it instead. The I the repeat symbol. I'd rather just have it filled out, but I get that not every piece of notation that I read is going to have that, so I'll just have to keep practicing and try to get better at those. But that does wrap up all the sight reading stuff. We are now caught up. And like I said, this is a brand new challenge. So I can't even skip forward. The first or the 16th day for everyone comes out tomorrow. So it's going to be exciting to see what we get because their challenge, I can definitely tell the difference in some of the older challenges from the newer ones. And the newer ones are definitely better. The old ones are good, but the new ones are definitely better. Oh, yeah, like I said, we're going to do Hail to the King by Avenged Sevenfold, one of the classic OG heavy metal bands from the 2000s, and an inspiration for a lot of modern metal bands in general. This song has a lot of those crashes that land in places other than the one, and it's good fun to practice. Oh, that is a great song for practicing sight reading because it's not too complicated, but it got some unexpected stuff in there. But it's all manageable. This is a manageable song. This is not a complicated song. The hardest part about it, in my opinion, is this one spot where it goes. That was the hardest part, where it just had that one crash in between the bass hit and the snare instead of being on one or the other. All right, we're going to go to the wheel. Come on, spin. There we go. What do we got? Oh, Bye Bye Bye. This is an NSYNC cover.
Bye, bye, bye. Bye, bye, bye. Oh, oh. Doing this tonight. You're probably gonna start a fight. I know this can't be right. Hey, baby, come on. Loved you endlessly when you weren't there for me. So now it's time to leave and make it alone. I know that I can't take no more. It ain't no lie. I wanna see you out that door, baby. Bye, bye, bye. Don't wanna be a fool for you. Just another player in the game for two. You may hate me, but it ain't no lie, baby. Bye, bye, bye. Don't really wanna make it tough. I just wanna tell you that I've had enough. It might sound crazy, but it ain't no lie, baby. Bye, bye, bye. Just hit me with the truth now. Girl, you're more than welcome to. So give me one good reason, baby. Come on. I live for you and me, and now I really come to see that life would be much better once you're gone. I know that I can't take no more. It ain't no lie. I wanna see you out that door, baby. Bye, bye, bye. Don't wanna be a fool for you. Just another player in the game for two. You may hate me, but it ain't no lie, baby. Bye, bye, bye. Don't really wanna make it tough. I just wanna tell you that I've had enough. It might sound crazy, but it ain't no lie, baby. Bye, bye, bye. I'm giving up, I know for sure. I don't wanna be the reason for your love no more. I'm testing out a sign of yours. I don't wanna be the loser, man. I've had enough. I don't wanna be your fool in this game for two. So I'm leaving you behind.
Might turn my metronome down a little low there. So when most professional musicians perform, they get to have what are called in-ear monitors usually. Some of them wear headphones like this, but most of them wear what are essentially earbuds that seal sound within the ear, that keep sound out, help protect your hearing, and then they're fed usually a few things. First is a metronome. Second, they hear their own drums, and then they hear one or two other instruments, usually either a couple of guitars, or a bass guitar and a regular guitar, or a bass guitar and the vocalist, depending on their preferences. So each musician on the stage, they have their own preferences and priorities on what they want to hear in their in-ear monitors. So they're not all even hearing the same thing. And one thing that they barely can hear most of the time is the crowd. Laser cannon death sentence. Oh, I spelled sentence wrong. I know it looks like I spelled death wrong, but I didn't. But I did spell sentence wrong. This is from Death Clock. So, if you don't know anything about Death Clock, Death Clock is a cartoon band made for an Adult Swim show called Metalocalypse. And Metalocalypse is a homage slash parody of heavy metal. In particular, like really heavier genres. And it got a lot of good music come out of it. The creator is a real musician that does real touring under the band's name. But ultimately, it was made for an Adult Swim cartoon. And it's kind of dark at places, but it's very, very funny. And it both embraces metal and makes fun of it a bit. It's also kind of death metal-y, so that's really, really fast. We'll see how I do. Laser cannon death sentence. Oh, that is a high energy song. I love it. It pushes me, but I love it. So the context of that particular song, oh, I gotta catch my breath a bit. The context of that particular song was the band Death Clock. They were in a bit of a creative slump. And they were feeling pretty depressed. So they were having trouble producing their new album. And the manager, Charles, decides he needs to take action. Oh man, my heart rate. So what he does is he comes to an agreement with a maximum security penitentiary to take prisoners on death row, strap them to rockets, and blast them into the sky like fireworks. Now, in the world of Metalocalypse, a big chunk of the world are like zealot super fans of Death Clock. So for most of these guys, it was actually consensual. They were excited to be just involved in some way. Most of them. You know, they were on death row, you know, they didn't really have a choice. But it did work. The band got inspiration, and they put out Laser Cannon Death Sentence. Oh. It's given us 2 Death Clock songs in a row. This is another Death Clock song. This song is about the fans of Death Clock. They're called Gears. They're gears, they're part of the clock. Oh, come on. Employees of the band are called clocketeers, and they actually have a gear branded at the base of their neck as part of their initiation. It should be noted that at the beginning of the series, Death Clock was the 7th largest economy in the world in that series. I love that series. It's one of my favorite. Sorry, and I was stalling for time a little bit to catch my breath. Okay. I don't know how accurate these lyrics are. I'm going to guess that they're semi-accurate. Some of the ones at the beginning are accurate, and then it becomes not. And that is how you get strong arm muscles as a drummer. Whew. My hand off the stick. Got my arm cramped a little bit. All right, I'm going to do one more cool down song. I'm going to bring the energy way, way, way down and play something that's the complete opposite of any of this. Do a complete 180 and jet off in the opposite direction at Mach 4.
Kiss me out of the bearded barley nightly, beside the green, green grass. Swing, swing, swing the spinning step. You wear those shoes and I will wear that dress. Oh, kiss me beneath the milky twilight. Lead me out on the moonlit floor. Lift your open hand, strike up the band and make the fireflies dance. Silver moon sparkling, so kiss me. Kiss me down by the broken tree house. Swing me upon its hanging time. Bring your flowered hat. We'll take the trail marked on your father's map. Oh, kiss me beneath the milky twilight. Lead me out on the moonlit floor. Lift your open head, strike up the band and make the fireflies dance. Silver moon sparkling, so kiss me. Kiss me beneath the milky twilight. Lead me out on the moonlit floor. Lift your open head, strike up the band and make the fireflies dance. Silver moon sparkling, so kiss me. So kiss me. So kiss me. So kiss me.
That's one way to bring things back down to a manageable energy. Ooh, my breathing was. I need to get in better shape, don't I? I have a lot of fun though. I love playing songs like that, and one reason that I play them is because they are tiring like that. They push me, and they help me to become physically stronger. The more I play these songs that are hard for me to keep up with and are very physically demanding. And I love it. I love it, I love it, love it. Just like I love drums. Even though drums are hard, music is hard. Be kind to yourself and go practice and maybe come back tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern. We're going to do just one sight reading challenge because we're caught up. And then we're just going to jam and hang out. So yeah, have a